Hello guys, welcome back to our channel Mo and Ash Vibes. As you all know that recently we made a video on IELTS listening, full module, full practice test with answers. If you haven't seen that video yet, you can check the link in the I button and we will also provide a link in the description box. But in today's video, we are going to talk about the tips that you can use in your IELTS exam that will help you score great bands in your exam. I am not going to talk about the format of the exam in this video since we've already talked about it in detail in the video in which we have provided you with the full practice test. But just to give you an idea, whether it's academic test or general test, in both the cases the pattern is exactly the same and you get the same paper, and also you get a total number of 40 questions. Since the pattern of the exam in the general training and the academic training is exactly the same, so you can use the same tips for both the exams. Now let's get started with the tips. But before we start talking about the tips in detail, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please hit the subscribe button and also like the video if you like it and share the content. So the first tip is that you have to make sure that you are managing your time properly. So time management is really important. When the recording will be played to you, you will be doing a lot of things together. You will be multitasking. You will be listening to the recording. At the same time, you would also be reading the questions and then you will be also writing the answers. So you are doing a lot of things at the same time. So time management becomes really important. And also, since the recording is only being played once, so the time management part becomes even more important. To solve this problem, you should read the questions before the recording is being played. So when they will be playing the recording for you, they will give you some time to go through the questions. That time is really important. You should utilize that time properly. This is the time when you are going to go through the questions and figure out that what are they going to talk about in recording. This way, when they're actually going to play the recording to you, you would be able to relate with the recording and then you would be able to focus on the answers. Another thing that you have to be careful is that when they are going to give you the time to go through the questions, please do not read all the questions at once. When they're going to play the recording for you, they will be telling you that the recording that they are going to play is related to question, let's say 1 to 4. So this time you just have to read the questions 1 to 4 and just focus on that. You do not have to then read beyond question number 4 because the recording is not related to those questions. Another tip is don't waste your time in revising your answers too much in detail. So when the recording finishes, after that they give you some time to revise your answers. Which is good that you should revise your answers, but then do not spend too much time in revising your answers because the recording is only played once, and when you're revising, you've already heard what they were playing. So there is no point in revising too much in detail. So that time you can also utilize in reading the next questions. So this way you will be even more prepared for the next recording. By doing this, you are actually being smart because this way you are giving yourself even more time to go through the questions for the next section. And then when the recording for the next section will be played to you, you will be able to find answers even more quickly. Another tip is that when you are reading the questions, which is when they are going to give you the time to go through the questions, at that time, try to mark the keywords. So basically your biggest takeaway should be to focus on the keywords also, because if you are going to mark the keywords and keep it in your mind, then when you are going to listen to the recording, you would be able to focus on those keywords, and this way finding answers will become much more easy. So for example, let's say there is a line that says the dress code for the hotel is dash. So in this line, the dress code could be the keyword, which means they are looking for the dress code. So now when they are going to play the recording for you, then you have to just focus on the word dress code, and the moment you will listen to the word dress code, you will be able to relate this question and you would be able to find the answers more quickly. Another very important tip is that keep moving on even if you have missed some information. So let's say in the recording you have missed some part, then sometimes we panic and then we try to focus on what we have missed, but that's a completely wrong thing to do, because if you are going to focus too much on what you have already missed, then there is a possibility that you are also going to miss the future recording as well. Say if you have missed some information but you know what they are talking about in the passage, then make a guess. This is because you do not lose any points for writing incorrect answers. So it's always best to not leave it blank. Another thing that the examiner is checking is your grammatical knowledge. So you have to make sure that grammatically you're writing things correct. So you have to keep a check on your singular nouns and your plural nouns. For example, let's say there is a sentence that says that the organization is hiring a new dash. So instead of writing student, you write students. So that would be considered as incorrect, because when they are talking about a new, so they are talking about a single student and not students. So this way you can also lose marks. So you have to make sure that grammatically the answers that you are writing, they are correct, because a lot of times people also lose marks for their grammatical errors. Similarly, you have to make sure that you are writing the correct spellings, because if your spellings are incorrect, you won't get a marks for that. A lot of times when the spellings are difficult, they usually spell it for you. So in the recording only, let's say the answer is something which has a difficult spelling. So in the recording itself, they will be spelling it out to you. Make sure that you are listening to that part very carefully, because if you are going to mess up that part, then you won't get any score for that. The next step that I'm going to talk about is very interesting. So in multiple choice questions, you get multiple options to choose from. So sometimes in the recording, all the options are being talked about, and at the same time, there is a particular option that they are talking about over and over again. And just because they are talking about the same option over and over again doesn't mean that it is the correct answer. That could just be to confuse you. So do not get confused or lose your focus. Keep following the strategy that you were following before and keep your focus intact. Another thing that you have to be careful about is that you are transferring your answers to the answer sheet correctly. I know it sounds like it's not a big deal, and how can somebody mess up that? But trust me, a lot of times people lose marks while they are transferring their answers because they do it incorrectly. So let's say you have a multiple choice question in which you have been given 4 answers, and you have to choose the correct option from A, B, C, or D. So for example, the question is, the sun rises in the dash, and the options are A, east, B, north, C, south, D, west. Now you have to choose the correct answer from A, B, C, D. Obviously the sun rises from the east, so the correct answer is A, east. Now when you are transferring this answer to the answer sheet, instead of writing A, you write the word east. Now that would be considered as a wrong answer. The reason is because they asked you to write the answer in the format A, B, C, or D. So you have to choose the answers from the option A, B, C, or D. But instead you write the option that was given in A, which is east. So that would be considered as a wrong answer. So you have to be very careful with that as well. The last tip that I'm going to talk about is not only a tip, but it is also a practice that you should implement in your daily life. Since you're planning to go to an English speaking country, so you should be able to grasp the language naturally. For this, I would recommend that you can listen to the audiobooks or watch some English movies or English shows, or you can listen to the news channels. Also make sure when you are listening to those things, you are listening to different accents of English, so you have a greater knowledge or a vast knowledge of different accents. This will not only increase your listening capability, but it will also increase your retention of words, and it will also make your vocabulary better. So these are some tips that you can use in your listening module that will help you score better grades in your exam. I hope that this video was useful for you. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment in the section below. If you need to know more about the listening module in detail, we have provided to you the link in the description box and in the I button. Now I will see you in our next video. Until next time, ta-da!